Next is our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Indeed, it's a thrilling time of the year, as our chair mentioned earlier, with so many opportunities to showcase the talents of our students, and I hope that each one of us have an opportunity to enjoy those end-of-the-year events. I'm frequently asked what makes this system so great, and I respond with three facts. One is that we have great students, as you witnessed this evening. We have great teachers and staff, and we have great community support, for which we're very grateful. And I think I should point out, since we're here at Chapin Middle, that our principal here, Mrs. Miller, just won a leadership award from her alma mater, Columbia College. So congratulations to you for your outstanding leadership. At this time, we'll have our monthly financial reports. Our Chief Finance Officer, Mr. Lynn Richardson.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner, members of the board. Exhibit B in your packet is the monthly financial report through April 30th of this year. We're basically 83% of the year is behind us, and everything looks good according to schedule. So if you have any specific questions, I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions? Mr. Turner.
Ms. Richardson, at our last meeting when we were going over the budget, we were discussing the use of the operational balance, and last board meeting you felt that we might have to use some of that this year. I know we still have 3 or 4 more months to go, 3 months to go, but are you closer to getting a feel for how much of that operational
Mr. Turner,
balance?
can you speak up? Excuse me for interrupting you.
Is your mic on?
It's on. I'm sorry. It's on the.
Okay.
I'll
Turn it up.
I'll turn
There you
this
go.
up. Okay. I won't start over, but as far as the use of operational balance, are you able to, at this stage, share with us a number as to how much of that 3.7 you think we might have to use this year, or is it just too early, even though we're 3/4 of the way through?
Depends on who you ask on who's doing the projection on how much of the fund balance. It does appear we're going to have to dip into it a little bit. I don't think it's going to be, like I said before, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near $3.7 million, hopefully less than half of that. I'm still trying to determine what other type of categorical funding that we may have that we'll be able to shift some of the burden off of the general fund this fiscal year that will hopefully lower how much we have to use. So I don't feel comfortable giving you a number now because I don't have a handle on it yet.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I had a question about the, with the revenue, and I see that we had an increase of $193,000, I guess it was, in revenue in lieu of taxes. By chance, is there anything in particular or any new occurrence that happened?
I think we just missed the budget, honestly. And if you'll notice, when we do the FY15 budget, I have bumped that up a little bit. And part of this, I'm not sure, there was a part of the Amazon multi-county park agreement, and some of that may be in here because I don't think the district expected that funding.
Well, that's always good news.
Extra money we'll
Good
take.
things to read about. Any other questions? Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Richardson. At this time, we'll have our report from our Office of Design and Construction, our monthly update. Mr. McAllister.
Oh, there it comes. Okay. I'll begin with Chapin High School. project is moving along. We've finally finished a connecting corridor that will eventually tie the entire building together so that when kids begin a school day, they'll be able to stay within the building most of the day unless they're going outside to PE, to one of the practice fields, or to the game field. Everything's progressing. I was through there this morning. They're starting to hang sheetrock on the stage area, so the gymnasium's coming along. We are concerned about some of the issues with the practice fields and some of the other issues on the outside, but I actually left a message with our design team with Stevens and Wilkinson on the way up here tonight to discuss some of that. That's Chapin High School. I guess I could show you the pictures. I'm working without Chris tonight. He had a function with his daughter. It really is beginning to really take shape and be a nice looking facility. The curbing is in the main parking lot outside the gym and the gym area, and that'll be a big plus when we can finally get that finished. But the gymnasium and all really are starting to take shape. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
On this exterior gym lobby, it kind of looks like the front. Is it the same material or is it better?
No, ma'am, it's the same material. Yes, sir.
What are the issues with the practice fields?
Well, since it started, we've had a real concern about you may as well call it the pitch. It's almost like a pitch, and it was the way it was designed, and we've been talking about it for a couple of years now, but it's just not conducive to what it's intended to be, and so that's something that, or I say it's not conducive. The football coach says the same thing, and I tend to agree with him, and so we're going to have to address that with Stevens and Wilkinson.
Is it a design flaw, or is it construction flaw? Or?
It is built the way it was designed, according to civil engineer. So,
But it's not.
at this point, that's about all I'd like to say about it. If it's all right, give you a little more time, but yeah, it was, and I questioned it 2 years ago, and we're still questioning a little bit now that we have a finished product. Yes, sir.
Mr. McCall, is this the final brick report?
Yes, sir, I think so. That came in over spring break and somehow got lost. I apologize, it was way too long getting to you. It wasn't until I asked about it and was told I had it that, yes, sir. And that's one of the reasons I wanted Chris to be here tonight, to be able to discuss that with you.
So we'll wait on.
If you don't mind, I would appreciate that. Anything else? Dutch Fork High School, moving along nicely. We've gotten approval on the health science building. It has passed OSF inspection. They have moved into it. We have a couple of issues in there with some moisture content issues with some of the floors, and so that's kind of held us up on a couple of areas, but it doesn't keep them from being used. This close to the end of school, didn't seem to make sense to spend the extra money to seal them. We'll just wait till the summer, see if we can get the moisture content where it needs to be on one of them. One of them is our problem, one of them is the contractor's problem. So, but everything, we're to the stages of landscaping and whatnot around the health science, and it is that has turned into a really nice facility. Oh, again, I keep forgetting to show you the pictures. We are demoing in the existing building at this point to begin the renovations in there, and it's a lot easier to tear it up than it is to build it back, and so demo has moved along very, very quickly, and I think we're probably 80-90% through with the demo at this point in time. But should be a very nice facility when we finish. Questions? Irmo High School, again, also moving along nicely. The auditorium is beginning to take shape, and that is not a bluebird walking across the roof. Although that's what I called and accused them of planting one on me there to see if I was paying attention, but it's actually, if you see some other blue tarps around the area, it's actually covering some roofing materials up on the roof. But when you first look at it, especially the photo on the left, looks like we've got a bluebird a huge bluebird walk across the roof of our facility. But
Yeah.
that is not the case. That's metal panels on the new auditorium, and that's look at the front of I think we've just about finished the brickwork on the clock tower on the left side of the new area. And we have started demoing inside the west wing, used to be known as the Cape, but now affectionately referred to as the west wing, and the demo seems to be moving along nicely, and we've actually turned that area over to our construction folks a little early, so there should be no excuse for not having it ready on time. Questions at Irmo? Well, by the way, we've gotten many kudos about the disappearing fence up at the front parking lot and the trees we've planted along the line. The biggest question we've had is when is the other fence coming down at the other end of the school? And that'll be this summer, unless we can get to it in the next week or so. But this summer is not very far away at this point. The new middle school, both of our bids came in within budget. Site work, I think, is somewhere 70 to 80% completed. Footings have been laid out and beginning to be poured, and rough in for mechanical, electrical, and whatnot is starting. And plumbing and electrical is starting in lower southwest end, and that seems to be moving along nicely. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
I actually want to ask a question. All I want to know, Mr. McAllister, is if we're on schedule on all our projects. Are we?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's all I want to know. Thank you.
That's kind of a moving target, but yes, if the question is, will we be ready when school opens, the answer is yes. But I'm having a meeting with our folks at Chapin, as a matter of fact, next Tuesday morning to discuss not being last minute getting there with it.
Same thing with Irmo. I mean, are we?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I feel better about Irmo at this point in time than in some of the other areas. But at this time, it appears they know when the deadlines are, and we've not kept it a secret from them, and we'll take whatever action is necessary. If they don't meet, if we need to supplement, then we'll just need to supplement. That's the way it has to be at this point in time. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McAllister, I have to agree that the front of Irmo High School without the fence looks wonderful. The trees that were planted, was that a collaboration with the Arbor Day? I know that they've done so much.
No, actually, what it really was, as much as anything else, I put our landscape architect from Stevens and Wilkinson with the folks from Arbor Day, just so we could coordinate it together. It seemed to make the most sense is to let them sit down and talk about it together, and then left hand knows what the right hand's doing. And so that seems to have worked extremely well.
Well, it sure did, and it's nice to have that public partnership with a wonderful community group.
Well, and it has helped out. What I'll add to that is that we actually, and you really can't see it unless you're coming up Emory Lane, but when we did the inside of the stadium and whatnot, we did juniper and pine straw on the back hill under the scoreboard, and we stopped it at what we felt like would be an appropriate point. Well, one of them called it to my attention that it just looks like it's only partially finished. And so we went back and finished that hill because they were right. You know, so it helps to have community input sometimes and see if we can learn some lessons along the way.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
That concludes the superintendent's report. Thank you, Mr. McAllister.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner. Next on our agenda is public participation.